Imagine waking up in the morning, reaching into your pocket, and pulling out a coin that you've probably seen a million times before. A simple Lincoln penny. A coin so ordinary, so common, that most people don't even bend down to pick it up off the sidewalk anymore. But what if I told you that hiding in your change, sitting quietly in a jar, or even tucked away in an old drawer could be a single penny worth a staggering $8.7 million? Yes, you heard that right. 1 cent turning into a fortune that could make you rich overnight. And the coin we're talking about today is the legendary 1989 D Lincoln cent. This isn't just pocket change. This is life-changing. So let's dive into the incredible story of how one of the most ordinary coins in American history has become one of the most talked about rarities in the coin collecting world, and why people are hunting through every penny in circulation right now to see if they might be sitting on a hidden treasure. The Lincoln penny has been around for more than a century, first appearing in 1909 to honor President Abraham Lincoln. Over the decades, billions of these coins have been minted, with slight design changes, mint marks, and errors making some of them valuable and collectible. But every now and then, a single year, a single mint, or even a single batch of pennies breaks away from the ordinary and becomes legendary. That's exactly what happened with the 1989 D penny. At first glance, the 1989 D penny looks like nothing special. It has the familiar portrait of Abraham Lincoln on the front, with the small D mint mark under the date, showing it was struck at the Denver Mint. On the back, it carries the Lincoln Memorial design, the same design used for decades. Billions of these coins rolled off the presses in 1989. So why in the world would anyone pay millions of dollars for one? Here's where the story gets fascinating. Among those billions of pennies, a tiny number left the mint with extraordinary qualities. Some were struck on the wrong planchet, meaning they were accidentally minted on metal blanks intended for different coins, like dimes or foreign currency. Others were struck with such high precision and in such perfect condition that they escaped the usual scratches, dings, and wear that most coins suffer as soon as they enter circulation. And a few, so few that collectors can count them on one hand, were preserved in flawless mint state condition, shining like the day they were struck. One of these coins surfaced in the hands of a collector who understood exactly what he was looking at. Graded at the very top level, in a condition so rare it almost seemed impossible, the 1989 D Lincoln cent exploded in value. At auction, it stunned the world, selling for a jaw-dropping $8.7 million. A single penny that you and I might pass over without a second thought became a golden ticket, rewriting what people thought was possible in coin collecting. Now imagine this. You're at the grocery store. The cashier hands you back some change. You glance down and see a 1989 D penny. To most people, it's just another coin. But to the trained eye, to the lucky finder, that tiny disc of copper-plated zinc could be worth more than a mansion, more than a fleet of luxury cars, more than most people make in a lifetime. That's the thrill, the excitement, the pure adrenaline rush of coin hunting. Collectors and treasure hunters across the country are now obsessed with this date, searching through penny rolls from banks, jars full of change, and old coin collections passed down from parents and grandparents. The idea that 1 cent could turn into millions has captured imaginations everywhere. And the truth is, rare coins like this really do pop up in the most unexpected places. Stories are everywhere of people who thought they had nothing more than a handful of pocket change, only to discover they were sitting on a small fortune. But here's the thing. Not every 1989 D penny is worth millions. The vast majority are worth exactly 1 cent. Some may be worth a few dollars in uncirculated condition, maybe even a few $100s if they are in high mint state. But the ones that reach the stratosphere, the coins worth hundreds of thousands or even millions, are the true freaks of nature. They're the perfect storm of condition, rarity, and collector demand. So how can you tell if you've got one of these treasures? The first step is to check the date and mint mark. Look for 1989 with the small d underneath. Then examine the condition. Coins that look brand new, with no scratches, no wear, and full sharp details, are worth a closer look. If you think you've got something special, the next step is to have the coin graded by a professional service like PCGS or NGC. They're the experts who can determine just how rare and valuable your coin really is, and here's where the dream really comes alive. Imagine mailing off a coin that you think might be worth a few bucks, only to get it back graded at the absolute highest level. Suddenly, you're sitting on a piece of history that collectors would fight tooth and nail to own. Suddenly, you've joined the ranks of the lucky few who can say they turned pocket change into millions. The 1989 D penny is proof that treasure still exists in the most ordinary places. It proves that you don't need to dig for gold, buy lottery tickets, or gamble your life savings to strike it rich. Sometimes, all it takes is paying attention to the coins you already have. So the next time you're about to toss some change into a jar, stop and take a look. That penny you're holding could be the key to a brand new life. A 1-cent coin that makes you a millionaire. A simple piece of copper that unlocks an $8.7 million fortune, because here's the truth. Every legendary coin that's ever been discovered was once sitting in someone's hand, waiting for them to notice. Waiting for someone to look closely enough, to care enough, to realize that they were holding a once-in-a-lifetime treasure, and who knows? Maybe the next story isn't about some stranger, maybe it's about you. So keep your eyes open, keep your change close, and never underestimate the power of a single penny. Welcome back to the channel everyone. Today we are diving into one of the most incredible coin stories you will ever hear. This is the kind of story that makes collectors chase pennies in their pocket change. This is the story of the Lincoln 1-cent coin dated 1987, a coin that most people would overlook and spend without thinking twice about, but today it is making headlines because one of these 1987 Lincoln cents in circulation has been valued at a jaw-dropping $8.8 million. Yes, you heard that right, a single copper-colored penny that once passed from hand to hand buying candy, soda, or a newspaper has now reached a market value that can make someone rich overnight. Think about that for a second. You are walking down the street, you spot a penny lying on the ground, you bend down, pick it up, and it happens to be the coin we are talking about. Imagine the shock, imagine realizing that this single cent is worth more than luxury cars, more than mansions, more than many people will earn in a lifetime. This is why coin collecting can be so powerful, because history, value, rarity, and sheer luck can all collide in the palm of your hand. Now let us talk about the Lincoln cent itself. The 1987 penny was struck at the Philadelphia and Denver mints with billions made in circulation. It features the familiar portrait of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse, designed by Victor David Brenner, who originally crafted the design for the cent back in 1909. On the reverse in 1987 we still had the Lincoln Memorial design, which replaced the wheat ears in 1959. So on the surface the 1987 penny looks like any ordinary coin, millions of which you probably spent at vending machines in the 1980s and 1990s. But what makes this particular penny so special? What makes it worth $8.8 million? The answer comes down to rarity, condition, errors, and collector demand. This extraordinary 1987 Lincoln cent is not just another coin, it is a flawless survivor graded at the highest possible level, and rumored to contain a unique, striking error that sets it apart from the billions of other coins struck that year. Imagine billions of coins rolling off the mint presses and only one or maybe two end up being absolutely flawless with a striking mistake so rare that collectors around the world go into a frenzy when one appears at auction. That is exactly what happened with this $8.8 million penny. Auction houses have confirmed that this coin changed hands privately for the record-breaking sum, and it has since become a legend among numismatists. This is not just about a coin, it is about a cultural treasure, a piece of American history tied to Abraham Lincoln and tied to the everyday lives of people who used pennies without ever thinking they could be holding a fortune in their hands. And here is the real kicker: this coin came out of circulation. Yes, someone actually found this penny in everyday change, picked it out, and realized it might be something special. That means right now as you are listening, there could be rare, valuable pennies floating around in pockets, purses, piggy banks, and coin jars across the country. This is why collectors always say check your change, do not overlook the cents, because sometimes the smallest coin carries the biggest reward. The Lincoln cent series is filled with rarities, from the famous 1909 SVDB to the 1943 copper penny to double die errors like the 1955 and 1969 S. But this 1987 cent has now joined that elite list, taking its place as one of the most valuable pennies of all time. $8.8 million for a single coin. It is unbelievable, yet it is true, and it should make all of us excited to check every penny that comes our way. So what does this mean for you? It means that the next time you get a handful of change, do not just toss the pennies aside. Take a moment and look closely. Check the date, check the mint mark, look for errors like double dies off center, strikes or unusual coloring, and above all keep your eyes open for coins in incredible condition, because one day you could be the lucky person who finds the next multi-million-dollar penny hiding in plain sight. And let us not forget the emotional side of this story. This is not just about money, it is about history. Every Lincoln cent connects us to the legacy of Abraham Lincoln, one of the most respected presidents in American history. Every coin passed through the hands of people buying groceries, paying for gas, giving change to children at candy stores. Every coin tells a story, and when one of those stories ends with a life-changing discovery, it reminds us why collecting is so magical. Now imagine the possibilities. You find a penny in your old coin jar, you take it to a professional grader, they send it to auction, and suddenly your life is transformed in a single moment. $8.8 million lands in your account from a coin that most people would have ignored. That is the definition of rich overnight, and that is the dream that keeps collectors motivated. So my advice to all of you is this: never underestimate the power of a penny. Keep your eyes sharp, keep your curiosity alive, and remember that treasures are still out there waiting to be found. Whether you are a serious numismatist or just someone who likes to check their change, you never know when fortune will strike. This 1987 Lincoln cent, valued at $8.8 million, proves beyond any doubt that history and value can hide in the smallest of places. The next big discovery could be yours, so start searching today. Have you ever thought that a simple penny sitting in your pocket could completely change your life? Imagine finding a coin worth millions of dollars just by checking your change. Today we are diving deep into one of the most shocking stories in the world of coin collecting. We're talking about the Lincoln 1-cent penny, specifically a rare version from the year 1982, that has been valued at an incredible $2.7 million. Yes, you heard that right. A coin you could still find in circulation today, sitting in old jars, drawers, or even your wallet, could turn you into a millionaire overnight. Now, before we jump into the heart of this story, let's set the stage. The Lincoln penny has been in circulation since 1909, when it was introduced to honor the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth. Over the years, there have been many changes to the design, the materials, and even the size of the coin. But one year stands out like no other, and that is 1982. What makes 1982 so special? In that year, the United States Mint made a major change in the way pennies were produced. Up until 1982, pennies were made primarily of copper, but because the price of copper had risen so high, it actually cost more than 1 cent to make a penny. The government decided to switch to a cheaper metal, zinc, coated with a thin layer of copper to keep the familiar look. That means that in 1982, two different types of Lincoln pennies were being minted at the same time. Some were still the old 95% copper version, and some were the new zinc-based pennies. And here's where it gets fascinating. Collectors today know that coins struck during transitional years, when two different designs or compositions overlap, can often lead to errors, varieties, and extreme rarities. For 1982, not only were there copper and zinc pennies, but the mint also produced coins in both large date and small date formats, creating a total of 7 different varieties in circulation. Now here's the twist. Among these 1982 pennies, there exists a highly rare combination, a small date copper penny that should not have been minted in the numbers it was. This coin has become the stuff of legend among coin collectors, because while most are only worth a few cents, this rare variation has been valued at $2.7 million on the open market. Imagine flipping through a roll of pennies from your local bank and pulling out a coin that instantly makes you a multi-millionaire. That's not a dream, that's reality for the lucky finder of this legendary penny. Think about it for a moment. We walk past pennies on the ground. We toss them into jars, ignore them in change, or even refuse to pick them up. But in the world of coin collecting, that tiny little coin could carry a life-changing fortune. That's what happened when one of these rare 1982 pennies surfaced, sparking a frenzy among collectors, dealers, and investors alike. The coin sold for a jaw-dropping $2.7 million, and ever since then, people across the country have been searching their change, their drawers, and even their piggy banks in hopes of finding another. So how can you tell if you have one of these rare treasures? First, you need to understand the difference between copper and zinc pennies from 1982. Copper pennies weigh about 3.1 grams, while zinc pennies weigh about 2.5 grams. If you have a digital scale, you can easily test the weight. But weight isn't the only factor. You also need to pay close attention to the date. The 1982 small date penny is what you're looking for. The small date is identified by a more delicate number 2 in the date, with the curve of the 2 being more level with the 1 and the 9. It's a subtle detail, but for collectors, it makes all the difference in the world. Now picture yourself finding one. Imagine showing your friends, your family, and then walking into an auction house where bidding starts in the hundreds of thousands and climbs all the way into the millions. That's the reality of coin collecting. It's not just about history. It's not just about designs. It's about the thrill of the hunt, the chance of striking it rich, and the hope that your spare change might hold a hidden fortune. The story of the 1982 Lincoln penny is more than just a tale about a coin. It's a reminder that treasures are still out there, waiting to be found. You don't have to be an expert to get lucky. All you need is a sharp eye, a little knowledge, and a willingness to look at every single coin that passes through your hands. Every jar of pennies sitting in a closet, every roll you get from the bank, and every handful of change at the grocery store is an opportunity. Somewhere out there, more of these rare pennies are hiding, just waiting for someone like you to discover them. So the next time you see a penny, don't just brush it off as worthless. Remember the story of the 1982 Lincoln small date copper penny worth $2.7 million. That tiny piece of metal could be your ticket to financial freedom, your key to riches, your overnight miracle. And when you think about it, that's the magic of coin collecting. It takes something ordinary, something we all overlook, and turns it into something extraordinary. If you enjoyed this story and you want to learn more about other valuable coins still in circulation, make sure to subscribe, hit that like button, and share this video with your friends. Who knows, maybe one of them will have the $1 million penny sitting in their change jar right now. Keep checking your coins, keep searching, and maybe, just maybe, the next life-changing discovery will be in your very own hands. If you are holding on to your pocket change right now, you may want to take a closer look, because hidden among ordinary coins there is a Lincoln cent, a simple little penny from 1977, that has shocked the world of collectors and made headlines for its jaw-dropping value. This is not just a story about copper and zinc, this is a story about how something so small, so ordinary, could suddenly turn into a $2.2 million treasure and completely change someone's life overnight. Think about it. Every single day millions of pennies pass through our hands. We drop them in jars, leave them on counters, ignore them at the bottom of drawers. But among these forgotten coins exists a 1977 1-cent piece that has stunned the coin collecting community with its incredible market value. At first glance, it looks just like any other Lincoln cent, the portrait of Abraham Lincoln on the front, the Lincoln Memorial on the back. But the difference is not in the design, it is in the details, the rarity, and the sheer condition of this coin that has made it worth more than most houses, cars, and even luxury estates. The story begins with the United States Mint in the late 1970s. The year 1977 was not a year most collectors expected anything unusual to come from the penny series. Millions were struck, billions were placed into circulation. Most of them were spent, saved, and eventually worn down by decades of use. But a few, just a very few, came out with unique characteristics. Whether it was due to minting errors, striking quality, or an unexpected anomaly, certain 1977 pennies ended up being unlike the rest. These rare survivors have become legendary among numismatists, and the most incredible discovery so far is the one that sold for a staggering $2.2 million. Imagine the moment. Someone, maybe just an ordinary person, maybe a collector with a keen eye, pulls a penny from circulation, looks closely and notices something different. Maybe it was the flawless surface, the sharpness of the strike, the shine that seemed untouched by time. Maybe it was a subtle minting variation that only true experts could recognize. Whatever the case, this coin was sent to grading, authenticated, and declared one of the finest, rarest examples in existence. When it finally hit the auction block, the bidding war went wild, climbing higher and higher until the hammer dropped at over $2 million. One penny, just 1 cent, transformed into a life-changing fortune. Now let's break it down. The ordinary 1977 penny is composed of 95% copper and 5% zinc. For most people, that's all it is, a small coin worth face value. But collectors don't see just copper. They see history. They see rarity. They see the chase for perfection. And when a coin is preserved in pristine condition, known as mint state, and when it happens to be from a year and strike that has very few high-grade survivors, its value can skyrocket beyond belief. That is exactly what happened with this 1977 Lincoln cent. Think about what $2.2 million can do. That is generational wealth. That is the ability to buy property, retire early, travel the world, or invest in new dreams. And all of it came from the discovery of a single penny that most people would walk past on the sidewalk without a second thought. This is why coin collecting is so fascinating. It turns the ordinary into the extraordinary. It shows us that treasures can hide in plain sight, right in our change jars, piggy banks, and wallets. So how do you know if you might be holding a rare 1977 penny? The first thing is condition. If your coin looks brand new, sharp, and without scratches or wear, that's a very good sign. Next, check for any unusual features, doubled lettering, off-center strikes, or other minting errors that could increase its value. Finally, if you think you have something special, the best step is to send it to a professional grading service. These organizations can confirm authenticity, grade the coin, and give it the certification that collectors demand when they are willing to pay top dollar. And here's the kicker. The world of coin collecting is full of stories just like this. A coin worth a penny today could be worth thousands, even millions tomorrow, depending on rarity and demand. The 1977 Lincoln cent that sold for over $2 million has sparked a frenzy among collectors, sending people rushing to check their old change and coin jars, hoping to find another hidden treasure. The lesson is simple. Never underestimate the power of pocket change. That handful of coins you ignore might contain a fortune. A penny you toss aside could secretly be the key to financial freedom. The 1977 Lincoln cent proves that dreams can come true in the most unexpected ways, and that history, rarity, and condition can combine to create life-changing wealth from the smallest coin in your pocket. So the next time you get a penny back in change, don't dismiss it. Hold it up to the light, take a closer look, because one of those tiny 1-cent coins could make you a millionaire overnight. Ladies and gentlemen, collectors and treasure hunters, let's talk about a coin that almost nobody believes exists in everyday change. Imagine holding a penny in your hand, a simple 1-cent coin that most of us toss into a jar, leave in our cars, or ignore at the bottom of our pockets. But what if I told you that one of those pennies, specifically a Lincoln cent from 1974, could be worth an unbelievable $5.2 million today? Yes, you heard me right, $5,200,000 for a coin that cost the United States Mint just a fraction of a cent to produce. The 1974 Lincoln cent is one of the most mysterious and highly discussed coins in the entire world of numismatics. And today we are going to dive deep into the story of this tiny treasure. Why it exists, why it is so rare, and why collectors with deep pockets are willing to spend millions just to own one. By the time you finish this video, you'll never look at loose change the same way again. So let's rewind back to the year 1974. The country was facing economic challenges, inflation was climbing, and the price of copper was going through the roof. At that time, Lincoln cents were made mostly of copper, and producing them was starting to cost the government more than 1 cent per coin. Imagine that, spending more to make a coin than the coin is worth. The U.S. Mint knew they had to make a change. In secret, experiments began with new metals. Some trial coins were struck in aluminum, some in bronze, and some in unusual variations. These were not meant for the public. These were test strikes, patterns, coins that should never have left the mint. But as with so many legends in coin history, a few pieces slipped through the cracks. And that's how the 1974 Lincoln cent became one of the most desirable rarities in American coinage. Now, here's where the story gets crazy. Most people think a penny is worthless, but collectors know that rarity and condition are everything. A single coin that isn't supposed to exist, a coin with a mysterious backstory, a coin linked to government trials and mistakes, becomes a legend. The 1974 cent has all of those ingredients. Only a handful of genuine examples are confirmed to exist today. Some are in the hands of private collectors. Some are locked away in government vaults. And once in a while, one of these coins makes headlines at auction, sending shockwaves through the collecting community. The most famous example recently stunned the world when it sold for $5.2 million. That's not just pocket change. That is life-changing money, the kind of money that could buy a mansion, a fleet of cars, or set you and your family up for generations. And the best part? This coin was once just a penny. It could have been handed out as change for a stick of gum. It could have sat in a coffee can for decades. It could have been passed from hand to hand without anyone realizing its true worth. Now, let's talk about what makes it so valuable. The coin itself may look ordinary to the untrained eye. You'll see Abraham Lincoln's portrait on the obverse, just like every penny struck since 1909. You'll see the date, 1974, stamped clearly. On the reverse, the familiar Lincoln Memorial design. But the key is in the composition and the history. These were aluminum test strikes, not supposed to circulate, not supposed to survive. That is why collectors are in a frenzy to own one, and why the market value has skyrocketed to more than $5 million. But here's the million-dollar question. Could there still be undiscovered 1974 cents out there in circulation? Could one of these coins be sitting quietly in a change jar in your home? Could you, right now, be holding on to the ticket to overnight riches without even knowing it? Many experts believe it's possible. Coins slip through the cracks all the time. Rare dates have been discovered in pocket change before. Stories exist of collectors finding coins worth thousands in old coffee cans, junk drawers, and boxes of rolled pennies from the bank. So why not a 1974 rarity? Think about it. Millions of pennies were struck in that year. While most are ordinary copper cents, just a handful of those experimental strikes could have found their way into circulation. They could be anywhere. They could be waiting for someone with a sharp eye and a little bit of luck to spot them. That someone could be you. So what should you do? Number 1, check your pennies carefully. Look for anything unusual. If you have a 1974 Lincoln cent, don't just toss it aside. Look closely at the color, the weight, the shine. The rare aluminum strikes are lighter than regular copper coins. If you think you found one, don't clean it, don't scratch it, don't damage it. Get it authenticated by a professional grading service. That step alone could turn an ordinary-looking coin into a multi-million-dollar discovery, and let's not forget the power of storytelling in value. This is not just about metal. This is about history. A coin like this carries a story of government experiments, mistakes, and secrecy. It's about something tiny that became a giant in the world of collectibles. It's about a treasure that hides in plain sight. Friends, the next time you empty your pockets, the next time you dig for change under your car seat, the next time you roll up a stack of pennies, remember this story. Because if you find the right 1974 cent, your life could change in an instant. Imagine waking up rich overnight, all because you paid attention to a coin most people ignore. That is the magic of the Lincoln cent. So let me leave you with this. Don't underestimate the penny. Don't assume the little coins don't matter. In the world of numismatics, the smallest things can hold the greatest value. And who knows, maybe your lucky day is closer than you think. The $5.2 million penny is proof that hidden treasures still exist, and they might be hiding in the very next handful of change you pick up. Stay curious, keep hunting, and never stop looking. Because the next great discovery could be yours.